everyone, my name is Brittany, and you have found my interview today with Aaron Underwood, and I'm so excited to have him join me. Today we're going to talk about some of his music that he has released and that's going to be released pretty soon. You can find more interviews on my blog, pianoandpen.com, and I'll include some links to our social media where you can connect with us, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, in the links below this video.
Hi, my name is Aaron Underwood. I'm from California, and I'm a singer-songwriter. And you can find me at facebook.com/Aaron Underwood, or you can find my single "I Will Carry You" on iTunes. And I have another single coming out soon, so stay tuned. It's called "Your Name Is Greater."
So, Aaron, why don't you start off by just telling us a little bit about yourself and what do you do?
Okay. Well, I'm a music minister here at the United Pentecostal Church of Yuba City, California. I was originally born in San Jose, California, and I was raised in Jonathan Shoemake's church. It was actually Vor Shoemake's church first, and then Jimmy Shoemake pastored it. John Shoemake pastored it, who currently pastors it now. Vor Shoemake was my my grandfather. Jim Shoemake is my grandfather. John Shoemake is my uncle. So I have but probably the two biggest people that were influences to me musically came from my home church. One being my grandmother, Bobby Shoemake, who is an absolutely phenomenal singer and songwriter and pianist. She's incredible. Spiritually and vocally, she's just really, really, really talented. And then my mother, who's like a musical genius herself. So, I was raised around musicians, listening to a lot of music. So I started picking up the drums. My grandparents and my mother one year for Christmas decided to buy me a real Remo drum set when I was about 3 years old. I guess they were tired of me banging on all of the pots and pans and books I could find, countertops, so they figured it would probably be a lot less destructive if I just really had a drum set. So they bought it for me, and it was Smurf blue, and it was ugly. It was ugly, but it was my prized possession, and it was a little junior kit, and I played it until I was way too big for it. But yeah, I really enjoyed playing the drums. I started playing professionally, drumming professionally when I was about 16 or 17. I got a couple of, outside of conferences and things like that. My first one was playing for a PAW gospel group called Infinite Praise, and they called me, and what's funny is, and obviously race has nothing to do with it, but I was raised in the Bay Area where most of the great black gospel artists are actually black. and so it was funny to have this guy named Leon Johnson, who's a phenomenal musician, great writer, great leader, has a great talent, penchant for putting vocal groups together and getting great harmony and great production out of them. So he had this phenomenal group, and they were opening for Mississippi Mass, and so in Oakland, California, at the Oakland Arena. So I got to play for them, and that was my first taste of how it'd be. Obviously, we had great musicians at my home church, but really playing with professional caliber musicians, and that was when I really made up my mind that I wanted to be a professional musician, to try and make a career out of it. As well as use it as a ministry. But I just grew up really enjoying music, and I picked up guitar just as something to kind of play around with, because as a kid I would plink around on everything. They couldn't keep me off of the accordions and the ukuleles and all of the things, the pianos. I didn't know how to play, but I would just grab them at 3 and 4 years old and sit in the corner for hours and plink away on them. Whether they were decorative or actual usable instruments, I was all about plinking around on them. So I picked up the guitar when I was about 20 years old, and just kind of decided I was going to learn my chords And so I started learning all my open chords, and then from there I just started writing more. I had always sang my whole life, sang a lot with my grandma and my mom, always around the house
Yeah.
and around my grandma's house and Christmas and church and all that, special events. But I decided I wanted to write my own music. So the very first song I ever wrote was called Awesome God, and it was kind of this, I don't know, real funky kind of Tower of Power, spanky guitar, brass line is what I could hear in my mind, you know.
Yeah.
And if you can imagine like a gospel James Brown sort of sound, you know.
Uh-huh.
Um, but you know, that was kind of what I had in mind. But I've never recorded that song. My mom keeps trying to talk me into recording it because I think she remembers it being better than it actually was.
How old were you then when you first wrote that one, did you say?
uh, 20, probably 21
21. Okay.
ish. Yeah, 20 or 21. And yeah, I just really, really enjoyed writing. I kind of fell in love with that. And, you know, I've progressed on my instrument, which I consider guitar my instrument. I lead worship from it every Sunday. So, and Wednesday. But, you know, I consider that my main instrument now. But I'm in love with writing music.
That's
I
great.
can play for hours.
So what is the writing process like for you then? How does it work? How does it come?
Well, you know, that's funny. I have a lot of people send me emails and call me or text me and ask me questions about that. You know, people that are actually trying to get into writing or are honing their craft, so to speak. Because writing is a craft.
Right.
It definitely is a craft. The writing process for me usually starts out. I write a lot at the church. Because that's where I go for my quiet time and, you know, my alone time with the Lord. So I'll sit down and pull up my guitar and plug it in and just start with a little bit of worship. And I'll, you know, have my normal devotional time, and then I'll go back and pick up the guitar and just begin to work out chord progressions that strike a note with me. And sometimes, 90% of the time, that's how it comes to me. Music first, and then I begin to put lyrics to it. I Will Carry You is the exception to the rule
Oh,
for me.
really?
I Will Carry You is kind of a long story in the making. Um, I was backslidden for about 9 years, just gigging around, touring with whoever I could, doing a lot of studio work, and you know, gigging out at every bar and club I could find on the weekends, just, you know, as a way to make a living. Um, and so you know, I was really into drugs and alcohol. I had a really just made a mess of my life, and I was bartending at a bar, and after work, I had been sitting around with a lot of people there, um, and I had a moment of clarity, just where the whirlwind of sin in my mind was just calmed for a split second, maybe, or a moment, but it felt like long enough for the Lord to talk to me, and I just really saw things clearly, saw my life clearly, and felt that ache and that longing to have a relationship with God again. And that was a Saturday night, and and I went to church the next Sunday. I didn't go in the morning, but I went in the evening, and God reached for me, and I was a mess the whole service, just crying and snotting the whole service, and couldn't wait for the altar call. And finally made my way up there, and God refilled me with the Holy Ghost, and it's been a great experience ever since then. But I Will Carry You was kind of that song that came to me when I looked back and realized how hard the getting over drugs and alcohol part was, and the lifestyle I had been living. When those things would begin to pull for me, and nicotine and all that would begin to pull for me, I just really didn't have the strength in and of myself. And I know that sounds really simplistic, but I just didn't have the ability to say no to those things. But God just totally gave me strength and grace and mercy and encouraged me when I was down, and that's where that song comes to. It came from my path back to truth, and there's a line in that song that says, if you're going through a storm, call my name, and my hand will carry you back to shore. And it says, I will lead you back to truth. And so those lines really struck a chord with me, and that song came, and probably it felt like 5 minutes, but maybe 10 minutes at the most. I had the entire song written. Um, and so I went to my buddy Dustin Bledsoe's house, who's a great musician
Yeah.
locally. And so I went to his house, and we just decided we were going to take the song and just get it recorded so it would get out of my head, because I couldn't stop singing it. And, so we recorded a little video, and then we decided to start recording it to maybe do something with it, a little bedroom project, or anyways, we recorded it, and the recording quality is not all that great. It still gets kind of distortions, just, real gravelly, and a lot of breakup in the bridge. But it really wasn't meant to go to iTunes. But we just
So the
decided
version
to
that you
do it.
guys did is the one that's on iTunes.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, I would have
Yes.
never thought that that wasn't done in a studio somewhere. So
No, it was done in my buddy's bedroom, and we kind of had a concept for a sound. I wanted that real, for lack of a better word, haunting, sort of echoey 60s
yeah,
with the cool background vocal sort of thing going along with it. And it's a loop going. There's no drums or anything. It's just a loop in the background. So there's nothing really complicated about it. It's just the song has to speak for itself. Excuse me.
that's probably really encouraging for people too, though, to realize that they could probably do something like that without having to go to a big studio. If they have the connections or the equipment to do it, and it sounds great.
Yeah. Thank you very much. A lot of people don't realize that you can do things very inexpensively. We recorded that on Logic Pro,
Uh-huh.
which is pretty inexpensive, and it's easy. It's user friendly. I prefer Pro Tools,
Okay.
but you don't have to have Pro Tools. With a $20,000 rack and all the gear that goes along with it, and preamps and all this stuff. All of that is great, but if you can just invest in a good computer,
Yeah.
and a good recording microphone. It doesn't have to be the best, but a good recording microphone, and a pop screen, because I can't stand in here and all the
Yeah.
from people's air from the mouth.
Breathing
But
in the
yeah, exactly. It sounds like in between words, but I really have, over the years of doing session work for other people, it has given me an opportunity to kind of get up close and personal with the recording process and find out what is possible for low budget or no budget.
Yeah.
And but really what I do now is we started recording this new song. We actually recorded at a really, really nice studio. This guy's originally from Nashville, but he does excuse me, I'm just getting over the seasonal cold.
It's okay.
But he's recorded everybody from Carmen to
Oh, wow.
Keen, with the Katina's original album with Here I Am to Worship and all that, to Stephen Curtis Chapman. But his name is Mike Everett, and his studio is called The Creation Lab, and you can find it at thecreationlab.com. But he's actually in the middle of nowhere in California, just in a very rural area. But the studio is absolutely phenomenal. It's gorgeous. He's a phenomenal producer, but he works as engineer for me, and he's a session guitar player, so he's just exceptionally gifted, and he's Christian. So that really, really helps a lot, and he's worked with me a lot. I've just done trade outs. I'll go and do some background vocal stuff for him,
Oh,
and then
that's
he'll let me
nice.
come on my track a little bit. Yeah. But the great ways to saving money when you go in the studio, the keys are have all of your arrangements and everything worked out before you ever get to the studio. The more time you spend in the studio trying to work out kinks and cuts and punches and trying to get the band together, and people maybe not knowing their parts, and changing lyrics and writing bridges and all that. We're all independent musicians for the most part.
Yeah.
In apostolic music. There's no apostolic labels that I know of.
Not
But
that I know of either.
like Flyway Records, I believe, is Justin Hoag's record label out of San Francisco. But for the most part, we're all independent musicians, independent artists. So you kind of have to do it on a wing and a prayer, or your own savings, or the generosity, and the blessings from people in your home church or family. But I think that you've got to have everything worked out before you get to the studio, because the less time you spend tracking, obviously, um, the better
financially.
your price. Exactly, exactly.
Um, so you did this, or this next song that you're recording right now is in a studio, and are you just releasing another single?
Yes, I'm gonna release another single. I think eventually I'm probably gonna have, probably within the next year or so, I'm gonna have a full EP,
Okay.
which is an extended. For those of you that aren't sure what that is an extended play demo, but it's full production instead of just doing scratch vocals with scratch music. We're gonna do full production, probably 4 or 5 songs. I travel and preach a lot too, so it would be good for me to have something to go
Yeah,
with
that
that.
would be nice to have to take with you and be able to get people more music.
Exactly.
Um,
Yeah. Exactly.
so are you writing, like, are you in the process of writing songs for the EP now, or do you have some already done,
Yes.
or?
Actually, I have the majority of them done, and so I'm very, very, very picky. I'm a perfectionist when it comes to music, which is why that single "I Will Carry You." It's amazing that the song is even out there, because there were so many things about it that I was unhappy with, that I felt like I could have done better. Little blue notes here and there that are kind of rough in the vocal. If it would have been just a cappella, it would have been fine. But with accompaniment, some things kind of clash. But actually, sometimes the imperfections are what makes a song real.
Yeah.
It's tangible.
Especially, I
It's
think,
not
with the
just
testimony behind that song, I don't know, it probably also helps just that impact of it feeling like something that's real.
yeah,
It came from, a real experience. And it's cool too if people really get to understand the story behind it. There's no telling how many people that might have been in the same place that you were can connect with that and really feel like that they can get through it as well.
yeah. And I don't know. Sometimes you hear a lot of music. There's some really well produced albums that have come out, and you listen to them and they're absolutely flawless. There's nothing inconsistent, or any blue notes or blips here and there, or phrasing issues or anything. And but if you listen back to some of my favorite albums, both Christian, and I don't know if I can say this, but secular albums, even
Yeah.
from the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. Some of the most impacting songs uh, are songs that have blips in them. If you just
Yeah.
listen to vinyl recordings in general, it has that
Yeah.
sound through the whole song, and nobody ever cared about that, because the song was real. It was tangible.
That's
People
true.
could get a hold of something.
So, what kind of music do you like to listen to then? Like, who are some of your favorite artists?
Favorite artists right now, I'm really into Brandon Heath, because I think that he is a phenomenal writer. I don't know if you've heard the Christmas song that he wrote this year that was released in December, um,
I don't think so.
but it's called Just a Girl. And if you listen to that song, it is phenomenal. It is probably the best Christmas song, other than "Oh Holy Night," um, that was ever written.
I'll have
So
to listen to it then.
I yes, you will have to. Um, but I like Brandon Heath. I like a lot. I was raised with a really wide appreciation for music, so I like people from the country genre all the way through black gospel, jazz, funk, neo soul, Latin. I like cumbia, merengue. When I was in college. I played a lot of Latin music, so um, I don't know. Salsa just really speaks to me, both in a bowl and on a record.
So, have those genres impacted your writing at all? Do you find yourself writing a
Yes.
variety of styles?
Yes, and back when I was, in the world, doing secular music, everybody would say, "Wow, I really like your writing, but you can't make an album because you don't have like a consistent style you're writing with. Stylistically, you're all over the place." Um, but what's funny is I'm able. That's why I probably do more arrangement stuff for other people because I can hear all kinds of different, like in this album I was just working on recently, actually with my mom. um, we were working on this album, and the girl, she just sent us the stuff that she had written. She sent us a tape recording or a voice recording of her singing it, so we had to kind of come up with chord structures and melodic, arrangements and all this stuff from the ground up.
Yeah.
So I was hearing songs, and I could hear them from reggaeton all the way through, funky, jazzy, sort of bluesy stuff to gospel sounding to very contemporary. So I mean, my mind just is shooting out there at these points. Just when I hear something that's a blank slate or just something I can work with, immediately my mind, just like my dad says when he thinks about building a house, people look at the plans and they can't see what the house is going to look like when it's finished. So they'll say that they think an idea is a bad idea, but what he can see is he can see in his mind's eye the finished product. And that's kind of how I am with music. Somebody can sing a little something to me, or I can play a little something on the guitar, and all of a sudden that begins to, in my mind, turn into a full production. And I see notes in colors and brilliant colors, and it's just, I don't know, I guess the way my mind works is kind of strange.
That's
But
really cool though, because that's one of the areas I struggle in. Like, I know what style of song I'm writing normally when I write it, but hearing everything that can go into it and what the music's going to sound like, other than my keyboard, most of the time that I'm playing, I just can't get beyond that.
Well, I don't know. At first, I had a lot of impatience with people that couldn't hear what I was hearing. I just would get frustrated. Like, why can't you hear what I'm trying to explain to you? And they would say, I don't like it. And I would just say, you'll like it if you can just hear it. Just let me finish it, and then you'll like it.
Yeah.
But my mom actually was the one that explained to me, you'll have to have more patience with people that don't hear it like that. But because I've just almost been a weirdo since I was a kid, I match notes, pitch, and all that through color in my mind. The notes appear in color, and so I'll hear a note and I don't know exactly, that's or a chord. I don't know that's an E flat major seventh or E flat minor, whatever. I just know what color that is. And with the chord that I'm playing, if the colors match, whether it's a lighter green or a darker green or a bright, brilliant yellow or red, I will know whether I'm sharp or flat based on the color and the brilliance of the color. It's strange,
Yeah, I
very
think you're the
strange.
first person I've ever heard describe it like that. So,
And I see rhythmic patterns. Like if you were to, have a rhythmic pattern, ba ba da 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 da, I could repeat that over and over because I see it. I see it scroll through my mind, notated. The rhythmic pattern notated in my mind, so I could, as a youngster, remember cuts and punches and crazy, brass lines that went. I can remember
yeah.
the rhythmic pattern of it because it was like it was seared in my mind in some way.
Well, that's crazy.
But
Yeah, and definitely not anywhere near that.
it doesn't make you a good musician to be able to hear that stuff, but it has definitely helped. It's definitely helped here and there.
Well, I'm sure too, if you're doing a lot of arranging, and I mean, it's great that you can have such a wide variety of influences to create something, because even everyone that comes to you with the song, their style is going to be different, and the fact that you could probably meet them all right where they're at, that's great.
Yeah, and I don't know. I really enjoy music. I'm blessed, first of all, that it's my ministry or part of my ministry. But but I just love music. At a young age, I fell in love with music, and I could sit and listen. My mom would go in the grocery store, and I would kill the battery in her vehicle because I would listen to the radio full blast, just scanning through the radio. Even the stuff I wasn't supposed to listen to. I would scan through and listen to all the old Motown and R&B from the 50s and 60s and 70s, um, and I just had this huge love for music, and I would stay in the garage and play my drums or the bass or the guitar and play for hours and hours and just never get tired of it. Now I get tired of it after a little while, but
Does it become work sometimes, or?
as a kid, it does. It's like they say, once something becomes work, and there are some projects that you don't enjoy as much as other projects, but um, overall, you just have to look at it and say, even though it's not my full-time 40 hour a week job, I pour concrete. That's what I do for a living. But
Okay.
um, it, if if it's your full-time job, it will get tiring. And I have done it as a full-time job, and I still put in a lot of hours with it when I am working. But it becomes work. But overall, you have to be grateful that you can do something so amazing as a career.
Yeah.
Um,
I used to
it's
tell
almost
when I was in college, the dean of music, I was like, "How cool is it that you get to do this as your job? You're
yeah.
constantly surrounded with music, choir, special groups, whatever. And you're getting paid to do it."
And he was probably like,
Yeah. After a little while, I think so.
yeah, yeah. But it becomes work. But when you just look at the big picture and say, man, today would I rather be out there swinging a hammer, or would I rather be singing these cool background vocal lines, getting to make up my own harmonies and all that? People give me creative leeway, and they'll rein me in if I get a little too out of hand. But um, but for the most part, it's an avenue to be able to release creativity.
Yeah.
And I think God gave us creativity. He obviously is the creator, so
Yeah.
He gave us the ability to create. Whether you're a musician or a painter or a writer, or you build houses, or you are an accountant, there's always something in your life, whether it's the hobby or your occupation, that you can use as a creative outlet. Something creative about
Yeah. So, just before we end this, too, what advice, I guess, would you give to any other musicians or people who are wanting to record, or songwriters, just in general? What would you tell them?
I would say, first of all, just from on a spiritual note, make sure you have a prayer life. Um, a lot of writing comes directly from your prayer life, just like preachers. There's no way you're ever going to be able to preach the word with conviction and anointing if you don't have a prayer life. It's the same way with musicians. You're never going to write music that is impacting and powerful if you don't have a prayer life and if you aren't submitted. So aside from that, I would say hone your craft. It's just like being a mason or a woodworker or a concrete finisher. You have to continually work at it. Usually writing doesn't come second nature to most people. It's not just something super easy. You have to work on it for years. And second of all, I would say do your research on studios. Don't just find your nearest studio that has a port and the ability to record you and just go in and slap down your stuff. If you really want to be able to recoup some of the cost of recording, if it does cost you anything, you have to make sure that your final product is sale worthy. Not only do you love it because it's your baby, you're gonna love everything you write for the most part, but you want other people to enjoy your music as well and be ministered to by your music. So take the time, listen to other musicians, people that you emulate, because we all do emulate somebody, somebody stylistically, either vocally or musically. So find somebody that's a good role model, and really listen to their music, and then listen to yours and find out if there's some small things. Third thing, and this is the last one, I promise, is less is more. Less is more. A lot of times people just keep adding, and they'll have either too many words in a phrase, and they're trying to, sounds like they're speaking in tongues, trying to, slam this sentence, this paragraph into a sentence. Or B, you're making something rhyme. You're stuck in having to rhyme. When in all actuality, a lot of times you can twist words and the phrasing in order to make them not necessarily rhyme, but to where the listener won't even notice it. And think about odd rhyming patterns, not just A, B, A, B, A, B. I went to school and swam in the pool, and this day rule. It's very boring. So, you want to try yourself, maybe like instead of A, you want to write, A, B, C, B, maybe, if you understand what I'm talking about, A, B, C, so I'm not talking about you, Brittany, obviously I'm talking to the listener.
Okay.
but by, A, B, A, B, A, B, C, B, just mix it up a little bit and think of creative ways to say things with less words.
That's definitely good advice. Very good advice. So I'm really thankful that you were able to join me. And for everybody who's watching, you guys definitely need to go find Aaron Underwood on iTunes and buy his single. And go ahead and tell us the name of the one that you just did, and then the one that'll be coming out.
Okay, the name of the one I have recorded and is on iTunes now is called I Will Carry You, and the single I'm getting ready to release that is being edited and mixed as we speak is called Your Name is Greater, and it shall be on. You can actually go to cdbaby.com. I would rather you download from CD Baby than iTunes, but
okay.
Most people have to download from iTunes.
Well, we'll put the link to the CD Baby songs as well, to the versions on there. So you guys can find him on CD Baby and on Facebook and connect and support. And thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you very much for having me. It was my pleasure.